The Chicago Bears 2025 season is so close to beginning, we can almost feel it at this point. The energy is high, training camp has begun, and there is a lot to break down. Now, Jalen Johnson, we know that there is a little bit of concern towards the injury for him. Does it mean 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? The positive energy was there from Ryan Poles, and we can understand there is confidence he will be healthy by week 1, and all that means is that, okay, we're going to be set there at corner. Colston Loveland, the injury updates. Of course, we know about Luther Burden. Those are the two, main question marks coming into this upcoming season, whether or not these guys can truly be terrific factors, because there are a lot of great duos in the National Football League at the wide receiver position with good tight ends. Of course, the Detroit Lions, our rivals, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, or you add Sam Laporta to that. Of course, Hawkinson, Addison, Justin Jefferson from Minnesota, a great duo with the wide receivers. But where are the teams that are elite with 3 very good to great wide receivers and 2 tight ends? That is what Chicago is looking to be. What Bears fans are hoping, like myself, that this could be the best receiving core in football as a unit overall. The production can come from anybody that touches the ball, that it can come out of the backfield, that DeAndre Swift can have a better year. But the fact that you can have 2 tight ends for 40 or 50% of the time, and Loveland and Kmet to add in that layer of play action, there's going to be a commitment to running the football and being balanced, but then also that Luther Burden can be a true weapon, that DJ Moore is going to be the number 1 still on this offense, that Rome Odunze can develop into that outpitch, that player that the Bears offense can rely on. We already saw incredible signs out of Caleb and Odunze. The Green Bay game, 4th down, games on the line against Green Bay, back shoulder to Odunze. We saw against Minnesota 2 4th down conversions to Odunze, a 4th and 1 shot to Odunze against the Detroit Lions in a second half of a game. Him going to Odunze with a big 15-yard completion on that last drive of the entire season, and then he hits DJ over the middle of the field after that Rome completion on the sideline toe tapper. So we see all that continuity that developed last year that gives us a lot of hope that, wow, there is something there within this core. But that's exactly what the drawback has been the last 2 years. The Chicago Bears have a whole bunch of talent, but they haven't been able to put it together. And that is reliant on the head coach and, of course, the quarterback. Ben Johnson, we can love the way he speaks. And he speaks with clarity, he's concise, there's high energy, and you can tell he means what he says. There's not the mumbling, maybe bumbling, stuttering that you might have heard with the Nagy or Eberflus. These guys were very bright, intelligent, very football-y, but did they have complete control and respect from the players to take in the information that they were given, to go and apply it, and to improve every single day? It's obvious that the time management was debatable for both of them at a number of times. That Matt Nagy, the drawback was he was a little bit conservative in obvious run scenarios, and that Matt Eberflus late in games on defense was just an absolute cluster bomb of mishaps throughout his tenure with the Bears, blowing 4th quarter leads. No lead was ever safe, no matter how big it got. Under Eberflus in the first game as Matt Nagy as head coach, you also blow a 20-point lead. So Ben Johnson, the expectation is just starting with clock management, stuff that Bears fans can, at this point, be experts in, knowing when to call your timeouts, when it's a good time to purposefully tell your players to jump off sides like it's a 2nd and 1. You're under 3 minutes here. It'd be better for them to have a 1st and 10, and for it to be a less likelihood they pick up the next first down than them getting an easy first down on 2nd and 1 and just being able to burn, having to burn another one of our timeouts. Another prime example of something that's another level. Learned that one specifically, watching Tennessee and Mike Vrabel. Also saw Matt LaFleur do it against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game back in 2020. So now, the Chicago Bears next year, we know Dennis Allen on defense taking over, looking to shore that up. What will it look like in a variant towards what the Eberflus defenses has been? There's going to be a lot more pressure on the quarterback coming from Dennis Allen's defense. You're going to be seeing Tremaine Edmonds. You're going to be seeing, whether it be Brisker or Byard, coming from the third level of the defense to get after the quarterback. TJ Edwards has been very good at blitzing. Kyler Gordon has been great coming right down on the line or blitzes from the secondary. A bit of a knock from Bears fans have been the number of blitzes from deeper, like maybe an Eddie Jackson, or seeing Brisker blitzing from 12 yards back instead of it being a guy closer to the line. That's that made sense a lot of the time. But Grady Jarrett now, Shamar Turner coming from Texas A&M, his versatility is that of, I look at him as like a version of Donovan Jackson. And bear with me here for a second. Donovan Jackson for the Ohio State Buckeyes was a left guard at heart, but he bumped out to left tackle for Ohio State when their starting left tackle, Josh Simmons, taken 32nd overall by Kansas City, touted to be maybe a top 10 pick last year before he went down. Jackson can play both roles. Shamar Turner can play every position on the defensive line. The only thing you don't want the guy to do, 285 pounds, 6'3", is to be dropping all that much into coverage. And that's not what the style is going to be. Montez Sweat getting downfield in a hurry. Shamar Turner, Grady Jarrett, Andrew Billings, this is about everybody's favorite Chicago Bear, getting downfield in a hurry. Dayo Odeyingbo, Austin Booker getting vertical and letting guys like TJ and Tremaine Edwards, and in our very heavy nickel defense with Kyler Gordon being arguably the best, inside cornerback, or the nickname obviously nickel cornerback in the National Football League. His versatility being towards that offensive line. A commitment to stopping the run. So what does that mean? Seeing a Montez Sweat on the outside, seeing Dayo Odeyingbo on the other side, and looking at Grady Jarrett, Andrew Billings, and Javon Dexter, or Shamar Turner. Some combination of, a lot of the time, those 5 guys on a 3rd and 2 or a 3rd and 3 to let them know we're going to try and stop the run. And then, of course, you've got Tyreek Stevenson, who's in that competition likely with Zoff Frazier. But that was a question mark that we were a little bit concerned of. Is Tyreek Stevenson good enough? We saw the talent, the physicality, a little bit of a need to be a bit better in coverage. But that game against Green Bay, maybe his best game as a Chicago Bear so far, the pick 6 against Tennessee. There's been positive signs, and he used high draft capital in the second rounder. So that's why it was annoying. Incredibly annoying. The Commanders, I don't even want to talk about it, but to see, is this another wasted high draft pick that has been, I believe, that 2021 class? There's still not a Chicago Bear that's still on the roster from that 2021 or from that 2020 draft for us. So Tyreek Stevenson, the sentiment has been actually quite positive out of them, been healthy, stayed on the field, stayed relatively quiet, which is not typical of cornerbacks or skill position players like wide receivers. So all of that has been good, which leads us to believe that there is hope for Tyreek Stevenson and gives us at least a breath until the start of 2025. Because if he could be a guy, Olin Kreutz said this, it's if he could find a way to turn his talent of talking to be an advantage, just the same way C.J. Gardner-Johnson did. Remember to Tariq Cohen? Wims ends up punching him, gets ejected. Anthony Miller in the playoffs against that same New Orleans team punches him, gets ejected. If Tyreek Stevenson could be a guy that could draw 2 or 3 penalties on the season from guys being excessive and necessary roughness, unsportsmanlike penalties, and he could have none on the season. Even if he had 1 on the year and he could draw 3 or 4, that would be unbelievable. And now it's an advantage. That's a little bit of a game thing where there's a tally in the right way for the Bears, that you could have, a team set up shop 1st and goal, but now it's 1st and goal from the 25, or now it's 1st and 10 from the 25. They're backed up deeper, or they're set up with a first down. First down comes back, they have to deal with a 2nd and 19 instead of a 2nd and 4. Those types of things can add up in the course of a football game. Haven't really talked all that much about Ben Johnson and EPA. He's really into the numbers, as these young head coaches are, about, of course, time and possession adds to that, and the likelihood that you get touchdowns on any play that you dial up. That's why they took Colston Loveland, because once you get in the red zone and it's condensed in there, you need the big bodies, because that would be the difference between this Chicago Bears team and the best offense the Bears have had was 2012 and 2013, really in, I guess, the last 40 years for the Bears. In 2013, averaging 28 points a game, and then you scored 28 against Green Bay week 17, the last game of the season against the Packers, in that win and in game. You lost 28-33. So that team was scoring a whole bunch of touchdowns, putting up a lot of points, but a bottom 3 defense in the NFL. So Colston Loveland, him and Cole Kmet down in the red zone adds the EPA because you give them targets. Luther Burden is 6'1" on his best day, 205. Or Roma Dunze, his best feature is that 50-50 ball ability. DJ Moore, underrated with the 50-50, those aggressive catch scenarios, but also with the football in his hands, everyone knows him to be the caliber of a running back. We might see a little bit of him getting the ball out of the backfield. And then, of course, DeAndre Swift's 2 big plays, the touchdown to give Chicago the lead against Green Bay, and then against Washington Commanders with that big run that he had to put the Bears right there in that game, 7-12. Of course, there was the touchdown against the Los Angeles Rams. So 3 longer touchdowns, right, 30-plus on the season. Looking for a little bit of that, which will come from the improved offensive line. At left tackle, of course, Ozzie Trapilo is going to play that spot, looking like he could be maybe the starting left tackle, for Chicago. Braxton Jones has an injury. Personally, would prefer it if Ozzie Trapilo turns into a top 10 left tackle and you can sign the guy and he's on that rookie deal. And Braxton is a player that you sign to be a bench or a depth piece, and that Joe Tooney, Dahlman, and Jackson can be solidified in the interior, and that Darnell Wright can be solid, right, as that right tackle and pan out, because you did put resources towards Darnell Wright to make it work. So I appreciate you so much for watching. Obviously, you can see the energy, the passion for this squad next year. All the pieces are there. You've even got a good field goal kicker once that all got sorted out. You've got a very good punter in Torrey Taylor. There's not a weakness really on this team on paper. It seems like we've just got to let the games get played to find that out. Is quarterback a weakness, or did that position improve because of a better offensive line, because of a defense giving you more possessions, because of Caleb Williams himself having more weapons to throw the ball to, getting the ball out quicker, and a more established run game? If the tide is raised for all ships, it's just going to make Caleb Williams' job all that more easier to be improved and better. So please subscribe for more Bears content in the future. We're going to be coming out with it weekly throughout the offseason, through the NFL season, throughout the following, just coming out with a bunch of Bears content, as well as a lot of college football and NFL stuff. All of it's on Blitz with Blender. So looking forward to interacting with you guys, building this community out from really the ground up, and really looking forward to see what you have to say in the comments about Bears. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Go Bears.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blunder, hi everybody, I'm Josh Blunder. To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.